Hello everybody, welcome back to Connor here, welcome back to another One Leeds video, and it's deadline day, and yes, we're here to discuss everything that's going on with Leeds United at the minute, every transfer, every update, every rumour, and I'm going to be on here for a little while, and I am joined really happily by Dave Brown in the backdrop. I'm going to get him in. It's me and Brownie are going to be talking about the Leeds United deals. We're going to be talking about other clubs as well. We're going to discuss Southampton's moves, Bournemouth's moves, the situation at the minute with Everton, and just discuss everything that's going on around Leeds United at this moment in time, because it's a critical point and Leeds United have made some critical additions in this window. Love that shirt, bro. Good man. Good day from Wisconsin. That shirt, Connor, it's the best, mate. It's the best, if I do say so myself. Hey, Connor, good evening. Looking forward to the transfer deadline video. Hannah's in the building. Says, I'd rather not sell Harrison unless we bought someone else in. For all he is hot and cold, he does still offer something to the squad. Hannah, I'm absolutely loving that you're quoting me in there as well. Hot and cold Harrison. Hey Connor from Yemen. Fantastic news. How many hours left in the window? I believe it's 11. It could, as in it finishes at 11. It could be done at 12. I'm not 100% sure. Without any further ado, Mr. Brown, how you doing, mate?
Pleasantly surprised. Yeah, happy, mate. Happy.
Feels quite unique at the minute, doesn't it? Me and you on one of these. It's like old times.
It is bringing back the good old days, and yeah, it's getting closer to 11 o'clock, and I'm still wondering how we're going to mess this transfer window up. It's one of them,
who's going to get sold?
Who's going to get sold at 10:30 to mess it? But yeah, it's been a good transfer window, and I think Jesse Marsh has had 2 good transfer windows now. Not just the January one, but I feel like in the summer we added real quality as well. So back-to-back good transfer windows. Hard to really grumble really with this one. Like I say, the Harrison stuff all day. We had the discussion on the debrief with Gabe, and we said, would we sell him? Would we not? I tend to agree with what Hannah's saying. If you're not bringing in someone with real quality, I don't want it to be a Dan James situation where we just got rid of him.
Yeah,
I do feel like he does offer something. We saw at the weekend, albeit being Accrington Stanley, I came away thinking he was the man of the match in that game, whether it be something to prove. He knew the bid was on the table from Leicester. I don't know, but when he's on it, isn't he? So it's just getting that out of him on a more consistent basis that we haven't seen this year. But I'd be a lot happier come 11 o'clock if Jack Harrison's still a Leeds player.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with that, mate. I think the thing is with this Zaniolo as well is he's got a pretty mad injury record. He's only 23 years of age. He's had 2 cruciate injuries, which I'm sure me and you can speak about. Obviously, you probably a little bit more when it comes to your football and all playing at a decent level. Cruciate injuries are very difficult to come back from. He's a very technical player, looks very good on the eye. But do you know what, Brownie? I was thinking this earlier. Apparently, with him, he'd be almost not a like-for-like replacement, but a Pablo Hernandez replacement in terms of that style of player. But I don't feel like we're going to play like that anymore, mate. I don't feel like, you look at McKennie, who's coming, who's obviously he's came in, hasn't he? If we're playing 4-3-3, mate, McKennie's going to be at the tip of that midfield, and he's not really a number 10. He's a number 8. He's a box-to-box midfielder. So I'm thinking about this Zaniolo, and I'm thinking, if it was to happen, I don't really know how much sense it would make. And there's a lot of people saying as well, he's not a pressy player. He's more of a luxury player that you get with a lot of number 10s, don't you? But I feel with Harrison, yes, he riles me up. He riles me up. But his ceiling's very high. He's a pressy player. He looks all right in that central attacking midfield role. He's adapting maybe a little bit more to the system now, as the other players are. And I feel like you'd have to have a really good replacement for Jack Harrison. You'd have to improve on him, wouldn't you? I'm not saying Zaniolo's not an improvement, but does he bring everything to the table that Jack brings?
I totally hear you, mate. I mean, touching on his injuries to start, the only positive he has got is he's still at a young age. So obviously you heal quicker and better at a young age. But his injury record before this season, it isn't amazing.
No,
there was speak of it being a loan deal. So then you'd be thinking, well, we're selling Harrison and bringing someone in on loan. So coming into the season, we could be without both of them. Listen, he's 23 and he's played over 100 games for Roma, so it's good to be linked with that caliber of player.
You could have provided the perfect segue to Roma there, but go on.
Go on.
Yeah, as well as Diego Llorente.
With Llorente, well, we'll touch on him. I mean, he must be putting Euro Million lottery numbers on come Friday. I mean, he's gone from Beeston Hill to Coliseum. I mean, it's astounding. He's gone from Marsh to Mourinho. What a 24 hours he's had. But yeah, keeping on Harrison. I think I'm with you. I think at this stage of the season, again with it being Leicester strengthening a relegation rival, if we're in a relegation battle, they are. It didn't make much sense to me.
No.
Obviously, the figures that have been coming out today of 40 to 50 million, then it's a serious conversation. The initial bid from Leicester at 20.
18 months left as well.
Yeah, the 20 million was a non-starter for me when I saw that. I'd have been really quite gutted to lose Harrison for 20 million because he is hot and cold, but like I say, when he's on it, he like we saw his goal at the weekend, he does chip in with goals and assists. Yeah. So yeah, I think at this stage, I think I'd prefer to keep Harrison than bring in someone on loan. But yeah, as we swiftly move to Roma, I think the Diego Llorente deal was a deal that suited everyone. To be honest, I think it's a great move for him. Like we've just
what a move!
Great move. Going to play at a top Italian club for Mourinho, living in Rome. I mean, no brainer for him. I bet as soon as he heard the deal, I bet he was skipping around his room because he is down the pecking order at Leeds, and the performances of Woba have pushed him further down it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It's interesting now, obviously bringing that Montero in. Apparently that's almost like a direct replacement. And a lot of people were saying, with Llorente, we need to go out and get a centre back to almost replace him. But my sort of rebuttal to that was, well, I mean, Llorente is quite far down in the pecking order now for me. I think, like Liam Cooper's obviously ahead of him. I think Robin's ahead of him. Pascal's ahead of him when he does play centre back. Verber's ahead of him as well. So you're not really replacing Brownie, a centre back who's going to directly be coming into the first team fold. You're almost just replacing a centre back who's going to be backup, aren't you? So this Montero coming in makes a hell of a lot of sense. Under 18 captain for Portugal, looks like an absolute monster, 18 years of age, and it feels very Willy Gnonto, doesn't it? Like they're going to put him in the development squad for a little bit, and then they're going to see what happens. But according to Phil Hay and a lot of the top journos, this guy's got some serious potential. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he fits the bracket of players over the last 2 or 3 years that we've definitely been looking at, like the young players coming in, and myself included. You get annoyed, it's like, it's another young player. But I mean, this season we've seen the emergence of Somerville.
Yep.
Strike's played a lot more. Willy Gnonto's played and he's been unbelievable. So when you start to see these players actually getting into the first team, then you can kind of see that it helps. It does work to bring these players in. So I think, obviously, him going straight into the development squad, I think it's a signing for further down the line. But Cooper won't be around forever, so that's a centre half that'll be out of the pecking order. So it does feel like it's a bit like a domino effect, really. He's coming in to replace someone in a year, 2 years' time. A bit like the Cody Drama going out on loan. Obviously, Luke Ayling's contract's up in the summer. Is it you can go out for 6 months, get game time, and assess in the summer type of thing? So I think it does have that feel to it. Listen, the game's coming up. I don't expect to see the new centre half in the starting 11. So it's definitely one for the future. But he does have all the pedigree to develop into a really good centre half.
So Jacob said here, hi Connor, apparently Stoke are looking at a late move for Cresswell to replace Suter. Now, Brownie, I tell you what, I don't know if you've seen a lot of Harry Suter, but what a player he is.
Well, in the World Cup.
Yeah.
I thought he did brilliantly in the World Cup because, again, he'd suffered with injuries with Stoke and he hadn't played much at all this season. Then he went into a World Cup for Australia. Yeah. And I did. He was really impressive in the games I saw him for Australia. So it's no surprise that he's getting a move somewhere. Cresswell,
so I guess my question to you is, like, Coventry apparently were looking at a £4 million signing for him, and I said there's absolutely no way you can sell someone who's I mean, the potential this guy has and had. Let's bear in mind, 6 months ago, isn't it funny how football works, Brownie? But 6 months ago, people were talking about him being the next Leeds United captain and playing for England and all this sort of stuff, and suddenly because he's had a bit of a poor stint at Millwall. He's now surplus to requirements, and he could be surplus, and I think he is surplus to requirements. But that's it's a bit of a mad turn of events, isn't it? That he is going to be surplus. But on B, you've got to at least demand 10 million as a Premier League club for him. Surely 8 to 10 million at least.
I'll link it to a bit like what I was saying when we sold Phillips for 40, and I said at the time, what other England player could you go and get for 40 million in the midfield and attacking areas? And there was not one I could think of. I mean, you're looking at Conor Gallagher, a bid for 40 million, and I think the same with Cresswell. Like, correct me if I'm not wrong, but was he not captain for the 21s? England under 21s. He was captain. He was captain 6 months ago in the England under 21s. What under 21 you gonna go get for 4 million? And that's the same. And I don't understand why it would be 4 million. I personally wouldn't sell him yet. He's still young. When he's played for Leeds, I thought he's done brilliantly. I remember him last year, and I thought he did brilliantly against Antonio, who's an absolute beast. As a centre forward goes, number 9, he's big, he's strong, bullies centre halves in the Premier League. So for Cresswell to make his Premier League debut, I think it was at the time against Antonio, I thought he handled him really well. So maybe another loan move at a different Championship club will help him. I mean, one loan move at one club doesn't define. Look at Harry Kane. We saw the Angus Kinnear notes. He needed 4 loan moves when he was younger, Harry Kane, before he came back to Tottenham and really hit it off. I think I remember being at Leicester at one point and he didn't really play for them. Would they be looking back now thinking, I'm glad we didn't sell Harry Kane for 4 million after his bad loan move to Leicester when they were in the Championship? Definitely. So I'd be keeping hold of Cresswell for now.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a bit mental, isn't it? I think it's a bit mental to just be selling him on like that. And I mean, especially for that sort of money. But yeah, it looks like Stoke. It would make sense for Stoke to go for him, but a loan move there maybe, I think, and that'd be a good fit. Anthony says we should be patient with Cresswell. The potential is there for everyone to see. If he wants it enough, it'll be one of the best. Napa says selling for 4 million just to watch Coventry sell him on for an even bigger fee. No thanks, needs another loan. Yeah, or just like a ridiculous sell-on fee. But I think that's that's one for another day. Selling Harrison now would be like giving up the 2 goals against Cardiff. I think I'll be honest with you right now. I think you're probably of the same mindset now, Brownie, because it looks like that Zaniolo deal's dead anyway. It looks like, it's like international clearance at this moment in time would be difficult to get him over. Obviously, there's 4 hours left. But if we were to sell Jack Harrison now to a relegation rival, would that put a big shade on the transfer window for you? Because I think it would for me for a good window.
It would. At the minute, I'm 8 or 9 out of 10. I think it's been really good on the back of, like I say, on the back of the summer transfer window. If we were to go and sell Harrison now, when Jesse Marsh after the Accrington game says we want to keep him, then I don't know. After the Accrington game, when I heard Marsh say we want to keep him, he's great around the club. Got a lot to offer the team. I personally didn't. I thought that was done. The manager's saying he's staying. So I can't see him going now in the next 4 hours. I can't, to be honest. And like you say, to sell him to Leicester, I mean, they're on the same points as us, are they not?
Yeah, I believe so.
It just makes no sense.
No.
Would they give us Harvey Barnes? No.
I'd take that, to be fair.
No, exactly. But that's the likeness, isn't it? There's no way that they'd give us Harvey Barnes. They wouldn't even contemplate. Imagine us dipping in for Iniacho or something. They wouldn't do it. So I don't understand why we're even contemplating it. It should have just been thanks, Leicester, but no thanks. End of story. And I think that's what it probably will play out to be. So yeah. It would put a negative, not a negative. Well, yeah, it would. It'd be a down at the end of the transfer window.
So when we're looking at McKennie at the minute and we're looking at Rutter, I mean, I now look at that midfield and I think, do you know what, Brownie? I think physicality. I think an understanding between Adams and McKennie, which will bring a nice balance there with Rocker, who we know is technically gifted anyway. You then look a little bit further forward, where Leeds have been done in the transition a little bit on counter-attacks. McKennie and Adams in there for me are really going to solidify that. And then you look out wide and you see Rutter and then you see Sinistera on either side. Let's just say hypothetically, and Nonto comes off the bench or whatever, because one of them's going to have to. That, for me, is a strong midfield. Not only that, that's a midfield who's now going to get you goals as well. And you've literally got in Rutter, for me, and Sinistera, match winners. And you've got Nonto there as well off the bench, or Nonto starts, whatever. I think Nonto is going to be benched just because of his age. Might be wrong, but, I don't think Sinistera is going to be on the bench. If we move to a 4-3-3, one of them's going to have to be benched. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Regardless, it could be any of them. But I think, Brownie, the recruitment of Rutter and McKennie is a massive, massive win for Jesse Marsh. It's a huge win.
It's huge, and this is... I've seen a lot of people saying this, and I firmly agree. The results have to come now.
Yep.
The squad that we have got, he's been backed massively in the summer and in the January. I mean, he's signed 13 players. He's brought in, since he's been at the club, we've signed 13 new players, spent well over 130, 40 million.
Yep.
Players he's wanted, clearly, McKennie, Adams, Aronson, Christiansen. If I was to say to you or anybody in the comments, what's the front three starting against Forest? I don't think we'd all have the same. And that's the competition for places that we've got in the attacking areas. It's frightening. It really is. There's no way now between now and the end of the season that we should be doing another last season, having to go into the final day needing something with what's available to us. And going full circle back to the Zaniolo, the Roma player, even if we sold Harrison, I don't even think it's a position that we'd need.
I've said this.
In that area. If we were selling Harrison for 30, 40 million, I'd much rather see it being spent in the defensive area on a proper, do you know what I mean? More in full back or centre half position rather than going and getting another attacking player. Because if you put our attacking players in one, list them all, there's an embarrassment of riches up there. There really is. Yeah. I mean, Bamford coming back into the reckoning with his recent performances. You got Rodrigo, our top scorer. That's before you even mention the new record signing. You've got Sinistera, Nonto, Somerville, who was good when he was playing. Aronson, I mean, he's way down the pecking order for me, but you've got all them, and then you look at our backline, you think I think that's probably where I'd spend money now if I had 30 million spare.
Brownie, do you know what though, mate? In every single side, and I'm even looking at the top four here, in every single side when it comes to defence, midfield and attack, there are weaknesses. We can't be perfect at the back. And I know we're not great at the back, but we're not the worst defence the Premier League has ever seen by a long shot. No. So if you're working, like me and you and Gabe have discussed, if we're working well as a unit and we're able to defend as a unit and maybe we're able to win our 1v1 battles a little bit more, who knows, Firpo might come into a little bit of form. I'm not saying he will, but, what I'm trying to say is overall with Verba back there, with Koch, hopefully they can establish a bit of a relationship. But overall, the problem is every system can't be perfect, mate, and especially when you're in the bottom half, it can't. There's got to be a weakness somewhere.
And this is why managers get paid top dollar, because they analyse the other teams and try and come up with something that will beat that system that the other team play. Yeah. For me, I'd be ploughing my money now into fullback areas.
I think it will in the summer. I think we'll go and get some.
That's where we next need. I think top end of the pitch, there's been a lot of money going into it in the last 3 transfer windows. Loads of signings over 20 million. Fullback areas, we've never really broken the 15 million bracket. When you look at Christiansen was about 11 million, Firpo the same. Koch was 15, 16, 17 million. We've never really broken and gone bang on a defensive player. Yeah. So for me, that's got to be the next port of call. And I think you're right. I think in the summer, I think will be where we strengthen.
Yeah, they're going to have to do that, aren't they? But like we've said, there's going to have to be... That's where Marsh, like you said, mate, he's got to earn his dollar. The fullbacks and the defence, they've got to be coached. With Bielsa, we knew that. I mean, I saw a lineup that he had in the 7-0 loss to Man City quite earlier on, and it was laughable, the options he had, and even the starting 11. But the beauty about Bielsa, my point is he was able to improve players, and I think that's what Marsh has got to do. If the defence There's a lot of defenders there, Brown. You've got high ceilings. Christensen playing for the Danish side. Firpo was tipped to be big thing, to go on to big things when he went to Barcelona. Obviously, we signed players with potential. So this is where Marsh has really got to earn his coin and start to improve that back line.
Absolutely. And if results don't improve with what's available, then there's only going to be one outcome. I mean, the board clearly believe in Marsh. They've backed him to the hill. I mean, I'll go as far as to say this has been the best season of transfer windows with summer and with what we've brought in since we were playing Football Manager with a cheat code in the year 2000. For me, I can't think of a better transfer window in the last 20 years over the course of the summer and the thing. So the players we've got at our disposal are frightening. 13 new players for him, like I say. Would fans be even more buzzing if we had more faith in the manager's ability to bring results?
I think so. I think everyone would. But I honestly think now, mate, with the players that he's got, even the way he plays, I think Leeds are going to be much better now. I think we're going to start picking up more points. I'd be very surprised if we go into the second half of the season as bad as we've been. At the start, the first half. I think there's too many good options. Like Brownie, you put Nonto, you put Sinisterra. If they stay fit, by the way, which is a big thing. Nonto, Rutter, Sinisterra. You could even throw Somerville in there. Up again, I wouldn't put Somerville in there, but the first three, you'd back them to take on any fullback in the division 1v1, any fullback in the division, and that's the advantage that he's got now. So I think the system that he's playing, it might not be the greatest, but it's almost going to be forced to be much better.
It has to be. I mean, you said then about better than the first half of the season. If it's not, we will go down.
Yeah.
If we don't accumulate more than 18 points like we did in the first half of the season, then you're looking at finishing on 36 points, and then you're banging trouble. So the second half of the season has to be better. And I think it will. I do. I'm not sat here at the minute worried about relegation. We are in a relegation battle, but at the minute, I do think there are three worst teams in this division. But come the end of the season, that's not going to be good enough for me with what we've got available. Look, not relying on three worst teams. I don't want to be going into the last game of the season like we were last year, and I don't think we should be with what's available. When you compare this squad to last year's squad, the quality is frightening throughout.
Well, I think, Brownie, I think this is my personal perspective on everything. I think even if we stay up by the skin of our teeth, I think they'll get rid of him still. That's what I personally think. I think they'll get rid of him. I think they are now expecting, with the investment that they've had in this January window, the investment they've probably helped with in the summer, the full takeover that's happening in the summer when it comes to the 49ers. They're ruthless businessmen. The 49ers are a very, very successful franchise. They're not going to sit on their laurels with all the money that's been invested and be happy with another relegation scrap, which the previous chairman, when we're talking about next summer and they take over, has said that it would be impossible for us to be in. So they are. I think if we stay up by the skin of our teeth, I think Marsh will go. To be honest,
I think they've backed him, but I think they've had to. Because I think they're worried with the position we're in. If we go down, it's catastrophic for the takeover.
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah.
So I think people are saying Marsh has been backed. I don't think they've had a choice. I think they've had to go and sign players. Yes, the players Marsh wants, but any manager that was in charge of his squad, there's the ability to play in numerous ways, numerous shapes, numerous formations because of how many good players there are in attacking areas. So yeah, the second half of the season will be interesting.
I think Carl's right as well. The majority of the remaining fixtures are away. Jesse needs to put up or shut up, and it's quite blunt from Carl, but he's right. I mean, a lot of the teams in and around us that we're going to be playing again are away from home. But that's the fault of not picking up maximum points at home against some of the teams in and around us. So yeah, the pressure's on, but at the end of the day, Brownie, this isn't something we should be fearing. Especially just a little bit of an update for you here, mate. Everton put an offer in for Machi Batshuayi and he rejected them and said he's happy at Fenerbahce. So I mean, when you've got clubs like that, and you're looking at, and I'll tell you what, though, Brownie, you're looking at Leeds, not only Leeds, but you're looking at Bournemouth. You know, Bournemouth have done really well this window, brought in a lot of players. Looks like they were after Zaniolo as well. Southampton have strengthened. Leicester have strengthened. So it's not a good look for Everton at the minute. But I still think, mate, when you look at Dyche and that crop of players, it's not a woeful crop of players, I don't think. And him going in there, I think he'll make them a little bit better.
Mate. You say that, but for me, Everton have been awful, and they've sold Anthony Gordon.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was an Everton fan, I'd be, with 4 hours left, I'd be really worried, because
especially when you've been knocked back. But I mean, Brownie, can we just talk about their transfer targets? Conor Gallagher for 40 million when they don't even play a Pressy system. 40 million, and then getting not getting knocked back by Batshuayi today. It's not a good look.
I heard that they've gone in for the Coventry striker, that Gorka. It seems like a bit like how they were approaching a manager. They had Bielsa and they had Dyche, two polar opposite managers. It just feels like, and this has been Everton's problem over the last few years, and a bit like what Man United were like up until recently, just signing players for the sake of signing players. No thought process behind what players they wanted. It was just like a new shiny toy coming through the door. I mean, when Dele Alli came, do you know what I mean? And this is Everton's problem for me. It seems desperate now. They're just trying to clutch at anything they can get in the building. Bournemouth, unfortunately for them, I think they are down. I don't care what they're signing, to be honest. I don't see them staying up. Southampton's business hasn't amazed me. But there's still 4 hours left. They could pull some. They really seem desperate on getting on a striker through the door, and I think that's what they need. They don't seem, and I could be completely wrong, but they don't seem like they score a lot of goals. I haven't looked at how many goals they've scored this season in comparison to the teams down there, but they don't strike me as a team that score 3-4 goals a game. Ward-Prowse seems to pop up with free kicks and penalties, and other than that, I couldn't tell you someone who's scored many goals. Shadams has scored a couple, but I can't name many players for Southampton that might have many goals to the name. So I think that'll be their issue. West Ham, I've never really thought they were in a relegation battle. I know they're down there, but they've got far too much quality. Leicester the same. I don't see them really being down there at the end of the season, although they haven't done much themselves, I don't think. But we can't keep saying they're not in a battle, they're not in a battle. 3 of them are going down. 3 of them are going down, aren't they? So
hey, it could be including us, though, but hopefully not. But
it'd be interesting to see what other fans of other clubs think. Like, we're assessing other clubs. What do they think we're in one? They look at our squad and think, Leeds have got too much.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Mate, I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to message someone and say, do you want to come in? You want to come in a stream now, mate? Everton fan. Let's see what happens. Okay, so, yeah. I mean, let's have a look at what's going on with Southampton, Brownie. I'm just going to share my screen now, just because I just wanted to check a few. There he is. He's ready to come in. Do you remember Mike? Have we had Mike on the channel before? Brownie, I can't remember.
I'm not sure, mate. I'm not sure.
So Southampton here, mate. This is Southampton's business. Obviously, this window, Alcaraz, Orsic. I know he's played for it's Croatia and an experienced full winger. Right back, James Bree, bit of a weird one that. Ex-Barnsley and ex-Villa. Jan Bednarek, obviously, has come back on loan, and he doesn't look like a lot, does it, Brownie?
If that was our transfer window, we'd be worried, especially having appointed Nathan Jones as manager. I think if we were sat here sacking a manager, bringing in Nathan Jones, and then that's your transfer window, I think we'd be worried, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, Bournemouth have brought in, looks like Darren Randolph. I think this is this season anyway. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, Darren Randolph, Kilkenny, they're all players that I can't profess to know a lot about, but it's probably not the experience that you need at this stage, is it?
No, definitely not. I maintain that I think it's Bournemouth, Southampton, and one other. To be honest,
Is that what you think?
Yeah, I really do. And I'd have thrown Everton in there if they hadn't have sacked Lampard.
Do you think it is? Do you think it is? Do you think Dyche keeps him up or not?
I'm not convinced at all. I mean, at the end of the day, he kept Burnley up a few years, but they were always down there. And at some point, they were going, and last year was the year they went. I just look at the bottom of the league now, and I see Bournemouth, Everton, Southampton in the bottom three, and I look above it, Wolves, West Ham, Leeds, and Leicester. I can't see any of them four going.
Yeah, well, let's pick that apart. You can't see Leicester going, can you? I think Leicester are too strong. Everton, they're a weird one, aren't they? Because I still think they've got quality, Brownie. The problem is with them is they have to get this. Is it Gokoresh? They have to get him because DCL is consistently injured, isn't he? So I do rate him. I think he's a tricky player. His stats aren't amazing, but I don't know what you think about him. But I do quite rate Damari Gray. I think, if you get a bit of form out of him, he's a good little player, isn't he?
Yeah, of course. 1.5 million, I think they bought him for. Yeah. He does pop up with some goals. I'm looking there, and I got sent something about a week ago. Palace don't play a team below them till April.
Really? Bloody hell.
And Palace are only 3 or 4 points above us. The 3 points above Forest, 6 points above us. Their run until April is horrendous. So I wouldn't rule them being dragged out, but I just don't see Bournemouth, Southampton, Everton picking enough points. I don't. The teams above them at the bottom of the league, Wolves, West Ham, Leeds, Leicester, I just think they'll get more points than the other three.
I think the next 2 games as well, Ian said here, Everton's next 2 games are a free hit. It's Arsenal and Liverpool, isn't it? But the way Liverpool are playing at the minute, I wouldn't, I won't bank on them not maybe getting a draw or something like that at Goodison. But yeah, right on cue, we have got an Evertonian in the building. We've not had him on the stream for a while. Here he is, the big man. How you doing, Mike?
I don't want to talk about football.
See, this is what I meant. We were just saying before you came in about teams in and around the bottom 3, and was saying about how our transfer window's gone, and we threw Southampton in there. About I wouldn't be over impressed if I was a Southampton fan, but Everton's, they've sold Gordon and not bought anybody in. If I think Everton fans at the bottom of the league must be the most worried with how the transfer window's gone.
I don't even think we're worried anymore. I think it's a case of acceptance. This football club's finished. It's not been relegated in 72 years. We've got a proud history. As you guys equally, you were the same when you guys unfortunately went down. It's almost like it's almost inevitable, and it doesn't really matter who we bring in. It doesn't really matter what manager's in charge. The facts are, over the last 7 years now, under new ownership, we've steadily declined into, well, let's be honest, oblivion. We've got a new stadium strapped to our back, which is going to cost us 740 million. It's going to be the best stadium in the Championship.
We shouldn't laugh because
no, because
we're in it. I mean,
Mike, it'll be better than ours if we go down, mate.
As bad as Everton have been, and where they are,
2 points.
3 points.
Oh, was it 3? Right.
There's only 3 points in it.
Yeah.
An Everton fan was saying these. So I was playing football with a Scouser last night. Everton fan. He said the exact same thing. He was saying it's turmoil at Everton. That Mashiri doesn't know what he's doing. What is it? Thelwell, whatever it is, Mike. They don't know what they're doing. But he was saying at the end of the day with Leeds, because I was almost saying, it's sort of guaranteed at the minute that Everton are going. Well, I didn't say that, but I said there's a big likelihood. And he said the thing is, mate, with Leeds, they're only 3 points. It's three. It's a win, isn't it? It's a win against Mike. It's a win against Leeds at Goodison. That's what it is. And we saw that last season, didn't we? So
it might be, but when we've had teams like Wolves come to Goodison and lose, we've had Southampton at Goodison and we've lost. We've lost games away to West Ham in similar battles. I think we were 1-0 up against Leeds earlier in the season, and we bottled it and ended up drawing 1-1. And this team doesn't deserve to be a Premier League team, and that's a fact. The fans are brilliant. I'll sit here and I'll praise every Everton fan I can, but the club as an entity is finished. I will be 1 second. I'm very sorry to interrupt your stream. The dog's going mad, and I think I've had a delivery. 1 second.
Don't worry, mate. You go. But Mike's right, isn't he, Brownie? I think it's one of those where they are Everton fans at the minute. It's not a good place to be. It's not a good place to be.
You saw his demeanour and reaction straight away. He came in downbeat, and I think that's the problem with the teams in the bottom three at the minute. Southampton, Everton especially, they've not tasted relegation for a while. Everton, obviously, like you said, 70 odd years. Southampton have gone down, but again, not in the most recent of histories. It must be about 10 years now since they came back up.
Southampton,
the bottom three looking out of the relegation zone, and you've got Wolves, West Ham, Leeds, Leicester above you. 4 clubs that I don't see dropping into it. Personally, I don't see them dropping into it. I mentioned, it might surprise people, but I did mention Palace. Their run until April. Every game they've got is a team above them until April. But they always seem to pick up a result here and there against someone, so they'll get enough points. So
you do feel with Everton though that I don't know. You feel like Leeds are obviously in a much more financially stable position than we were when we were playing Monopoly in 2003. But you do look at Everton and think it's very, very, very similar to what was happening with Leeds at that period of time. Board fallout, overspending, shocking recruitment plan, arguments behind the scenes, fans falling out with players. It feels very like that. And listen, we're not coming from a perspective of Leeds are out of it, because we both know we are not out of it. But it does seem like, I don't know what your thoughts are, Mike, but with the, Jorginho, Rutter and McKennie and Verber and the additions that we've made this window, it feels like we've given ourselves at least a bit of a chance, with Bamford coming back and Rodrigo in form as well. So it feels like we've just given ourselves a little bit of a boost.
Which we didn't do last January. Last January, we really rolled the dice. We didn't do anything, and it almost very nearly cost us.
Mike? What are your thoughts on it from a transfer day perspective? Because it feels like Everton probably are the losers when I've been looking at the other side. The other teams in and around the relegation zone.
So Everton finished bottom this season. So that's that. Everton finished bottom. The team's not good enough. Everyone else has strengthened around us. And you're not just talking strengthened. Every team's probably spent 40, 50 million. Yourself, you may not necessarily have spent mega money, but you've signed some really good players. McKennie is a particular one that really stood out to me as a great addition. Somebody that you needed that little bit of pace. You've needed someone who's got the ability and also the sort of player that has played in, let's be honest, a very good side in Juventus. So you've gone and signed quality players. Leeds this season, as a result, will be fine. I think your biggest issue, and I'm sure I'm not preaching to the unpreachable here, but your biggest issue is actually your manager, and that's not me digging out.
I've said we've got all the gear, no idea now. That's where I've.
It's almost like if you put this Leeds team with this added bit of creativity and this added bit of pace, the perfect manager would be Bielsa.
No, don't. You've done it now, Mike. Don't.
I'm sorry, but it would, because the additions you've made. the removing of some of the older guard. Lorente's just gone out today. I know that there's the other lad that was highly thought of. Was it Robert? Not who else has gone from Leeds? A well-known player. What's his name? Yeah, it's almost like the changing of the guard almost, and you've brought in some good players, and you sort of want an experienced manager to come in and do a fantastic job with them. And
it's interesting. It is interesting.
Hey, Mike, you know what you're doing, don't you?
No.
It isn't. We were talking about this before you came in about perspective from other clubs, how they see Leeds, because obviously, you know yourself talking about Everton, you kind of get who emotionally involved to see past what is going on. So when other clubs comment on your club, it kind of has a more of a realistic perspective of it. For you to say things that Leeds fans have been saying themselves, it speaks volumes. And we're sat here now as Leeds fans, and we did it last year, me and Connor, we're in a relegation battle. But from another club's perspective, you see Leeds as absolutely fine. So it's and then obviously you will be there talking about Everton going, we're down, we're bottom, whereas other clubs will go, so they'll probably be safe. So it's amazing how other clubs see other clubs.
There is a slight difference though, boys, because I bet everyone in the comments and you two as well, I don't think it would be an argument to say you both expect Everton to go down. Like we are down. Everyone thinks that.
I don't know, mate. I think.
Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie.
We were just saying. We were literally just saying before you joined. We were talking about Everton, and we were saying so we're just letting them look at the other club's business. And I agree that Everton have. I mean, we were just talking on air then about apparently you went in for Batshuayi and Batshuayi doesn't want to come. It just doesn't seem there's any strategy there, with regards to that. But overall, I mean, me and you have spoken about it, Mike. I think Bielsa would have been horrendous for you boys right now. I think it'd have been awful. I think as a project, it'd have been unbelievable for you. But I think right now, it'd have been awful. However, I thought Dyche coming in, and you said the same thing, was probably the best appointment for Everton. So I think he's going to give you a chance, and I think that's what we all just want, isn't it? A chance, and yeah. I mean, the problem is it's the business, isn't it? Do you think Everton will do any business towards the end of the window? I mean, what have we got? Like -4 hours left. Is there going to be a bit of a panic for Gokoresh? What do you think is going to happen?
I think the only one that might come in, the only two that might come in now, and it's just things that I've heard, is potentially Zaniolo from Roma.
Know all about him.
And potentially Ismail Sarr from Watford. And if you throw them two names into the mix, I think it gives us a bit of a chance. But Everton have needed a central midfielder who has a little bit of composure, so it's not headless chicken. And look, we were linked with Conor Gallagher. He's never going to sign for Everton. I mean, it was absolutely stupendous idea to throw that out in the news that Everton had a bid put in for Gallagher, and then 22 minutes later he's rejected it. I mean, literally, he's at lunch. He's at lunch. He's sitting there, and he's got all the Chelsea team next to him, and his agents sent him a text or rang him up and said, just to let you know, Everton have just put a bid in for you, and literally everyone in there has just wet themselves in there. They've gone, laugh, Everton. And that's where this football club is, mate. We're no longer a football club. We're no longer an entity. We're a meme. That's what we are. We're a meme.
Well, where I am with Everton, and Connor mentioned it a little bit then, the plan, obviously you had two managers, Bielsa and Dyche, who were the target. You couldn't get more polar opposite managers if you try. And the players that you seem to be mentioned with at the minute, it just seems like we're just chucking names. There's no strategy behind what players, like you've just mentioned, you need a centre midfielder, and I completely agree. Go out and get a centre midfielder who can do that job. It just seems whoever's available, we'll try and get them. And it seems like you're trying to, a bit like supermarket sweep back in the day, where you're just sweeping players off a shelf, which as a fan of Everton must be quite hard to see, because you obviously an intelligent fan.
Wow.
And Everton fans are really passionate. You just crying out for what you need, and the owners just don't seem to want to give you it.
Yeah, I think we've had to know. The one thing we can't criticise about the owner is the fact that he has spent money. The issue is it's been on the way that he's spent it. The team, on paper, if I was to name an Everton team, you'd probably say they were probably, I don't know, maybe 16th or 15th. They're not very good, but they'd maybe not be bottom. And I mean that with firing Calvert-Lewin and a good Onana in the middle, Cody and Tarkowski. They probably shouldn't be in a relegation battle, but it's everything around it. And the point that was just asked and the question there is, Anthony Gordon, does he strengthen or weaken Everton by going? Well, to be honest, he scored 3 goals this season. He's not created a lot. He hasn't really kicked on from last season. He obviously had that attention from Chelsea, which has probably turned his ego absolutely crazy. And with any young player, I always wish them the best of luck. But I never sat there and went, Anthony Gordon's the next. Even Ross Barkley. Even Jack Rodwell. It's certainly not the next Rooney. So I never understood the hype externally regarding Gordon. He's very one-dimensional, and I hope he proves me wrong. I hope he goes on to have a fantastic career, and he proves Evertonians wrong that leaving Everton in this January, when we're about to go down, after being in the academy for 11 years or whatever it is, I hope he feels that it's the right thing, and it was the right thing. But he's left Everton with a £45 million potential budget, which we don't appear to be spending. So it is a negative he's gone, but only down to squad numbers rather than he weren't even starting recently. The last 3 or 4 games he hasn't started. So this move has probably not been a shock to Everton. Where you are right in saying is Everton yet again haven't done the right things. Me and Connor mentioned this in the week over WhatsApp. If Bielsa was the man that the chairman and the director and the owner all wanted, why not sack Lampard before the World Cup and give Bielsa that 10-week period of the 6 weeks plus the 4 weeks in January? Why not do that? Bielsa's been available. Or if it was Sean Dyche you wanted, either way, why not give him the games that we could maybe get a result in, like Wolves at home, like Southampton at home, maybe Leicester away? Give him those games where we can go and get a point or 3 points at home. So we can we know it's not going to be pretty football. We know we're not going to be the best of, what we can offer. But the simple fact of the matter is we've left it far too late to do any business in the window. We've left it far too late to bring in a manager because the fixtures that we've now got are now much more difficult. You're talking the next 2 games of Arsenal at home and Liverpool away. Well, let's be realistic. Everton aren't expected to pick up anything from that. It'll be a bonus if we do. We've then got Leeds and Villa. In what order? I can't remember. We'll probably lose them games. Yeah, we probably will lose them games, if I'm being honest.
I don't know, Mike. We said that, Joe. I think you lost about 5 on the bounce last season, and Leeds rolled up and you slapped us 3-0. So.
I think this is unfortunately.
I guess though, Mike, when you look at the fixtures afterwards, I'm just having a look now. You've got Leeds, Villa at home. So you've got Leeds and Villa at home, which are, I guess you'd be targeting them. Forest away, and then Brentford at home. So there's 4 games there where you've got to be looking and thinking, you can't be losing 2 of those games, can you?
You need 12 points. You need 12 points. You need 12 points.
Period now. You need
12 points.
Everton, Southampton in the next 5 games. That's make or break for me as a Leeds fan. You pick up 7-9 points out of them 3 games, and with how the other teams are performing, you're kind of out of it. Just 2 or 3 wins back to back, and you propel yourself really out of it. So them 4 games, Mike, where you say 12 points, you get that, you're out of it. You hit 30 points with what you've got, and you're laughing till the end of the season. So
I think the big thing is as well, Mike, as well, is, with regards to Leeds, you don't want to be going into that. We did it last year, but I guess we've not got the same fixtures last year as we do this season. You don't want to be getting to those last 4 games and needing wins, do you? Because, our last 4 is just an example. We've got City, Newcastle and Spurs in there. You do not, you need to be getting it to a point where you're far away from that relegation zone at that period, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the same can be said about Everton. I think we've got a tough run just before the end, but we finish at Bournemouth at home. And that could be an absolutely monumental game where the Everton crowd, we saw it last season, they will do everything they can to keep us up. But we've got to be in that position beforehand. I think under Dyche we'll get a lot more points, but I don't necessarily think we'll win games because we've not got goal scorers. Gordon, weirdly, we've just been saying he's not made us worse. He was our top goal scorer, but he's left scoring 3 goals in 20 games. It's not like, Everton, I think, have scored, I think it's 14 goals all season. And when you put that in perspective, it's the second worst. But the team that is the worst, which I think is Wolves, beat us at Goodison 2-1.
Yeah.
So,
well, we were discussing that before you came on, Mike, about Southampton as well. They don't strike me as a team that score lots of goals. Ward-Prowse picks up a few goals here and there from free kicks and penalties, but
Shea Adams every now and again as well.
It was last year. I never really feared for Everton. They had Richarlison. Leeds had Raphinha. There was that match winner that them two teams had. Whereas I look at the bottom of the league this year, West Ham, Bowen seems to be, he'll fire a few goals in. Leeds, with what they've brought in, seem to have enough players to win a game. Teams below, like Mike said, Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, I'm not sure they've got players that are match winners, which is the only real thing why I'm looking at the bottom 3 and thinking they're going to struggle to get out of that.
There's just there's absolutely nowhere that there's any excuse for Leeds going forward now. I mean, I think it's I think we're very well stoked going forward. No to Mbish just said here. Bielsa to replace Marsh. You've set it off now, Mike. Rumour, Philip. That's Brownie's burner account. That rumour. Phillips inquiry. I do not think so, and I wouldn't want Calvin Phillips back, to be honest. Which is a mad thing to say a year on. Right now, with our midfield, who would he get in front of?
Come on.
If we're playing 3 in midfield, who's he getting in front of?
Him and Adams at a base of a midfield, just play 5 up front for all. You know what I mean?
It'd be perfect at Everton, though, wouldn't it?
I mean, in the transfer window last year, you brought in Van der Beek, didn't you? And he seemed to steady. I don't know what. Obviously, I only saw him in the Leeds game at Goodison. I went to that game, and he seemed to control the midfield. That seems what Everton need on a consistent basis. That midfield just seems to be wide up. Like, what game was it that was at Goodison? And
Brownie, can I just finish on that point as well? I'm having Rocker because he actually plays football matches, mate.
Rocker over Phillips.
Yeah, 100%.
He plays for an hour.
Then he gets taken off by the man.
But yeah, just going back to Everton, it was a game at Goodison this year. You'll know it. Someone played a ball from near the dugouts back towards the keeper, and someone ran onto it and rounded the keeper and scored. And in that game, particularly I watched, that team were just running through the middle constantly, and there was nobody in there anchoring it or anything. But going off on a segue, would you not have Phillips back? That surprised me.
No, mate, I wouldn't. Nah, he's too injury prone. Said it when he left. Hence, what the fee we got for him. Too injury prone.
I do believe that Adams has been better.
Yeah. In
the system we play. And I mean, people have seen him in the World Cup. I thought he was unbelievable in the World Cup. Tyler Adams is real. I never thought I'd say this. I always thought Phillips would be the person that we would miss the most. But Adams has done a real good job for me.
I think both
of them together would be brilliant. So yeah, probably if it came up in the next 3 hours that Phillips was coming back, I wouldn't be disappointed.
Can I throw a question at you two then, and obviously everyone in the comments, because I will read the comments after. I can't see them currently, so don't.
No, I wouldn't.
I'm
joking. They're actually very kind. Don't worry.
Of course they are, because I actually know what I'm talking about, other than you, Con. Anyway, who's your bottom 3?
This is what we were talking about before you came on, Mike, and I fear for the 3 that are in it now. I just look at the teams above: Leeds, West Ham, Leicester, Wolves. I'm not just saying this because you're here. You'll be able to really listen if you want. Bournemouth and Southampton for me are gone, and I think it's one other. I really do. I think it's Bournemouth, Southampton, and one other. If Lampard haven't have gone, you might not know me, Mike. Lampard, every job he's gone to has not worked. So getting rid of Lampard, I think you are right. It had to be done sooner. It was inevitable he was going to get sacked. So I don't know why Everton hung on for so long. But looking at that Connor just put, it's Bournemouth, Southampton, and one other. I just think the teams above, Leicester, Leeds, West Ham, I just think they'll win more games than the teams below them.
It's so tight, though, isn't it? It's so tight. Look at that. I mean, 18th to 14th.
Forest aren't out of it by a long shot. There's no way Forest are out of it. If we go there at the weekend and win, and one of the bottom three win, then they're back a point above the relegation zone. This thing that Forest have done well in the last few weeks, yeah, but...
Well, I tell you what, Wolves. You forget about Wolves, don't you? Because of Lopetegui and the amount of business they've done, they've brought a lot in, haven't they, Mike?
Oh yeah, mate. The bottom three as it is now are gone because everyone else. I mean, Southampton have spent big and Bournemouth really, but Wolves have brought in real quality, quality. They've got a good manager. West Ham, they've got a good side. They're not going to be in this. Whether they keep Moyes or not is immaterial. They don't go down. Leeds have strengthened really well, in my opinion. And I, although you may be in the race until, I don't know, maybe 3 games before the end, I don't think you'll be in a relegation battle come the end of the season. Leicester will be fine. Forest are definitely having their purple patch now. So I expect them to drop. So I think it's out of Everton, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Forest, and based on the fact we've only won 3 games, we're not scoring loads of goals. For me, Everton go down.
I mean, we play Forest at the weekend, Mike. But after that, in the next 5 or 6 games, I'm just looking now. They've got Fulham away, Man City, Tottenham, Newcastle, and against Everton at the City Ground. So, like you say, Forest, they've got some big games themselves coming up. They can be dragged. 4 points is nothing. They can be dragged straight back into that.
I guess the big thing is, I guess the big thing, I don't know if you two are looking at it, and I know we're conceding a fair few goals, but I think to be in from around about 13th to 17th, obviously, and 18th at this point, I think you need to be scoring goals, and that's something that Leeds are doing. Leeds are scoring goals. I mean, we do concede, of course we do, but I think us going forward could just potentially serve us this season. I mean, look, you're looking at the amount of games that we've lost there. Is that 9 games we've lost there in 19? I think it's right. That's right, isn't it? 9 games. Obviously, Everton losing, what is it, 11? So, West Ham losing 12, which is big. Leicester, look at that above us. 12 games lost, and they're still above us. Yeah,
You'll know, Connor, I've been involved with football a long time, and it's a saying I've never really heard up until a few weeks ago. It was, I can't even remember who said it. It was watching a Monday Night Football or something. If you just flick that table back up if you can.
Yeah.
The comment that was made was, every goal you score equates to about how many points you get. And I've never really used that analogy before. But if you look at the table, Everton have scored 15 and they're on 15 points. Southampton, 17 goals scored, 15 points. It's very similar. West Ham, 17 goals scored, 18 points. Your goals for is a big indicator. And you look at Leeds and Leicester, I just think that's enough to get away from that bottom 3. Forest, 16 goals. So their points totals are above where they should really be.
100%. Right. He's going to leave us, Brownie. Mike's off. Thank you so much for joining, my friend. There's 1,500 of you in the building. If you are an Everton fan, go over and check Mike out. I've seen a couple in the comment section below, supporters. And if you're a Leeds fan, you want some great content, go check Mike out. He's probably the most bearable Everton fan, I reckon, on the network. So, yeah, go check him out. And, mate, cheers for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. And I'll give you a message. All right.
Yeah, no worries, guys. Good luck for the season. You'll be fine. Keep smiling and up the toughies.
Anyway, Mike. Oh, it's gone now. I was just going to say, Championship's better anyway.
Yeah.
Much better days out.
I
mean, the day out I had at Accrington was, I just reminded me of League One. I loved it, mate. Nice little ground, loads of good banter. We actually found our level. We scored a few goals.
Yeah. Ryan's in the building. Cheers for your donation. And everyone's saying thanks, Mike. Mike is a top lad as well. If you want some, it's funny Everton content as well, especially when he loses it. Ryan Dudley says, Connor, if Phillips was 100% fit, well, big if there, Ryan lad, and back to his best, would you not have him next to Adams over Rocker? Sorry if this sets Brownie off. I would, but if we're playing 4-3-3, then I don't really want two holding midfielders. I wouldn't mind Rocket. Well, I wouldn't mind someone to go a little bit further forward alongside McKennie and just have Adams holding. But not really. No, I've honestly moved on. I love it. You guys know I love Rocker. I think his stats are unbelievable this season. I think you actually have a good balance in the midfield and have decent players around him. I think he's going to be top for us. The Spain national side are looking at getting him in there. And do you know what I hear all the time, Brownie? I hear this all the time. Well, Llorente and Rodrigo have got in the Spanish national side. Yeah, but the strikers for Spain have notoriously for the past 10 years been awful. It's been reliant on Alvaro Morata. The defence has been suspect since PK and bloody Puyol left. So the midfield, we always know that Spanish midfield is competitive. It's one of the best, if not the best midfield in the world. So listen, Mark Rocker getting called up for that is a big thing. And I just think I think he brings a real... Sorry, mate, what?
Phillips no longer in the England squad.
I don't think he's.
I'm only joking, mate.
I don't think he's getting back in close, to be honest, mate. Now they've established that Bellingham-Rice partnership.
Bench, he can come and sit on ours. He can come.
But everyone's right. I mean, Phillips is in the England squad, of course he is. But I just think Rocker's got as many. I think between Rocker and Adams, we've covered Phillips's attributes completely.
All right, then another question for you, Mr. Moved On. There's a private jet flying to Barcelona to bring Raphinha back. You're not having him?
No, well, yeah, it's a different story, isn't it?
But with the attacking options we've got now...
Raphinha's won though. Raphinha had my heart, Brownie. He had my heart. That's a great question. Could you... What would you do? What would you do?
Seeing though last year we were Raphinha FC, I would 100% be bringing him back.
I'd 100% bring him back.
It was like being in the school playground at times. It was like Raphinha stick.
He was so good, mate. Raphinha, and whatever Nonso does, I think, with the greatest of respect, whatever Nonso does, whatever Sinistera does, whatever Rutter does, they might do better things. But I think Raphinha single-handedly kept us up last season. I think he's world class, and I think he's just in the wrong environment at the minute. But of course I'd have Raphinha back. Oh, Brown, I was in love with the guy. I loved him. I loved Raphinha, and I just didn't. Phillips towards the back end. I mean, he was just so in and out, mate. So many injuries, so many problems. And he got back. It'd take him a while to get into it. Then he'd maybe have a good 1 or 2 games, and then he'd be out again. And I thought with the Marsh system, he really struggled. I think the Bielsa system, he was great. But I mean, Brownie, he's not even getting in the City side for a full FA Cup game, mate. They're putting Rico Lewis in there. He's getting nowhere near it. So as much as everybody's got this nostalgia with Phillips, I know they've got an unbelievable setup there at Man City, but Rodri does need to be rested, and that's why they brought Phillips in. But when Rodri needs to be rested, they're looking at Rico Lewis. So he's not even showing it there.
I backed you up a lot last year when you were getting pelters for talking about his injury record. I fully agreed with you. I mean, when we've spoke about squad this year and last year, you always go, but we've sold Phillips and Raphinha. Phillips didn't really play.
Never.
The midfield last year, like when people go, we got battered 7-0, 6-0, it was a midfield 2 of Dallas and Forshaw. What were people expecting? That was the midfield 2 quite a lot. Dallas, Forshaw.
Yeah, it was, mate. And the thing is as well, mate, in the Marsh system, and I know what me and you were a little bit about the Marsh system, he wasn't good enough anyway. He looked lost. He looked absolutely lost in that system for me. And I know it was all about just staying up, and we didn't really know the identity back then, but it was levels away from what he was under Bielsa. And that could be that could be the coaching, that could be the system. But like I say, he's in an expansive system now, even in these FA Cup games and League Cup games that had. And he's not getting a shot. I mean, I as you know, mate, I report on Man City. He's very, very rarely available. Rarely. So.
Just going back to transfer news, there was a few dominoes starting to...
oh, yeah.
So Ayoze Perez of Leicester has gone to Real Betis on loan.
Interesting.
So does that mean that they know one's coming in that attacking area?
They got that Tete. Do you remember? The one that we were looking at a couple of days ago? Apparently, so that he's there. So I mean, does Jose Perez really play for them, or is he a bit? I mean, it says here. I mean, I tell you what, Brownie, what a season Fulham are having, mate. What a season! Fulham have completed the signing of midfielder Sasa Lukic from Torino for $8 million. Loads of people are going on about that and saying what a wonderful signing it is. I think I mentioned him on the Room Mill a while ago, and good player. But $8 million. They're an interesting one, aren't they? They're an interesting one, Fulham. It looks like they've got it right. They've completely got it.
Let's have a look.
Oh, you're about Perez, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he started 8 league games.
Yeah. TJ Racy says, considering our depth now, it would be an absolute catastrophe for Leeds to be relegated. I don't see it happening. I say we finish 12th. That's got to be the aim, mate. That's got to be the aim now.
And there's no way to beat around the bush. Results have to come now of this squad.
Yep.
This squad's ridiculous, and it shouldn't really be in the spot it is. But here we are. The harsh reality is it is. 2 really good transfer windows for Jesse Marsh.
This is harsh, isn't it? This is harsh. Sorry, I'm on the Raphinha thing still. I mean, that is 14 Yorks. I mean, how many games did you want him to win for us? We're not even just talking goals and assists. We're talking about creating space. Brownie, do you remember how man-marked he was towards the back end of the season? Because he was our only good player at one point.
I mean, he went missing. Did you mean in the last 12 games when he played right wing back and taking long throw-ins?
And still produced.
If I was Raphinha, I think I'd have gone missing a few times if I was told to take long throw-ins. I kind of get what he said. He was a match winner. He was a flair player. There were games when we were out of sight, but everybody went missing in them games for me. He turned up. I remember going to Vicarage Road, Watford, scored in that. Brentford scored the pen. Without him, I think we'd have gone down.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And Monry says Jack Harrison's goal on the last day wouldn't matter if Raf didn't have those goals and assists. Chin up, Connor. I'm happy. I think people think I'm moody all the time, Brownie. I'm happy.
The Norwich game at Ellen Road, Connor. The Norwich game, the Geldhart goal. Raphinha assist. He produced big time for us last year for me. Hey, everybody has their own opinions, but I dread to think where we'd be now if Raphinha wasn't there last year.
McAllister says, evening lads, I live in Nottingham, so we need a win. I can't put all with... Yeah, Forest don't like Leeds at all, do they, Brown? I think Forest and Derby have got this real hatred for Leeds because of the old Cloughie days, but I think it's dads of the lads, you know what I mean? But Forest, do you remember when we played down there in Bielsa's first season, they knocked us off our perch, they beat us 2-0, and Ayling did that interview afterwards looking like he was about to cry, and Forest fans were loving it. So
that started the run, didn't it? Because then we went to Brentford.
We did.
Drew there, and then we went up and they didn't win another game. Was it Lamucci? Yeah. Lamucci was the manager, wasn't he? And he ended up going from manager of the month to getting sacked. So well done.
Yeah. Guys, as well, there's 1,500. Can you believe, Brownie? 1,500 people watching me and you. Make sure you slap a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe and all that good stuff. We do normally do the debrief. Gabe isn't available. How's that? I think I've got a squirrel outside. Brownie's normally here with Gabe, but what was Gabe doing? He was on a run or something. What was he doing? I think, he was going to social. I don't know,
time zones and everything. Obviously, he's in America, isn't he? So time zones and stuff like that. Lewis O'Brien going to Blackburn for 10 million.
Yeah. In all fairness, I mean, I don't even know where Blackburn are they? Are they closing on the top six?
But yeah, they're in the playoff places.
So he could be in that. He could be. Yeah, it's not really worked for him at Forest, does it? I feel like Forest I don't know about you, mate, but they just seem to buy and buy and buy and buy. So obviously he was one of the first buys, wasn't he? So it feels like they've got about 40 central midfielders at the minute. So
Levente's just announced a tweet. He's put, I only have words of gratitude towards Leeds and their fans. Thank you for being by my side at all times. I wish you all the best for the remainder of the season. I will cheer you from a distance, marching on together.
That's nice, isn't it? I don't know if everyone's been supporting him, but yeah, I think...
I tweeted when he'd gone. I mean, I do wish him well.
Of course.
The injuries hampered him a lot. I mean, there was a period of time where it was like, Juventus injury bingo. What minute was he going to go off injured? But he always gave 100%.
Yep.
And in that season where we finished 9th, he was integral in that second half of the season. I think he was
brilliant.
ever present. He was ever present. He always wanted to pass forward. Again, another one that could be not the system might not be helping him. He likes to pass the ball forward and play into, whereas Leeds want to get it forward as quickly as possible. I just think this season and the back end of last, there were mistakes all over the place.
I just don't think it. I think, look, mate, we can be as sentiment ridden as we can, but he's not a Premier League defender. He doesn't have any attributes for me apart from being able to pass the
However,
ball.
I think Italian football will probably it'll suit him. More time on the ball, less pressure on the ball, more time to pick a pass.
Yep.
I think he'll do well there. So I think, like we said at the start, it suits all parties.
Any news, Connor? Any news, Connor? No, mate, nothing. I don't think that's. I think that's it. To be honest with you, that's harsh, Connor. Yeah, it's just my opinion. I don't think. Listen, I think there's a lot of sentiment now he's left. But if we're being brutally honest with each other, I don't think Juventus was ever good enough. To be honest, he was. Listen, he was decent in those first couple of months, I guess. But we've been judging him since then, haven't we? And there's been long enough to judge him, and I don't think he's been good enough. He's had more than ample opportunity as well. But he was good, very good in the first season, I have to say. But yeah,
so with less than 3.5 hours of the transfer window, Connor, do you think we messed this transfer window up in purely style, or do you think we end it as we are?
Who are we selling? Nonto to Man United.
We always do something daft, but I think the 49ers have really, after we didn't do anything last January, I think they've had to improve this squad. They can't risk it going down. Like I said before, going down for the takeover would be catastrophic. So I feel like they've had their hands turned a little bit to put a bit more money into this team and keep it in the Premier League. And I think what we've done, we should be more than fine.
I think so. I agree, mate. I think that's. I mean, there's nothing else, mate, to report. I don't think. I think we've touched on all the other clubs. We've touched on what we think. We've touched on the league table. We've touched on the fact that we think Marsh has got all the artillery now to go and thrive with Leeds. And I after this window, I don't think we'll go down. I really don't. So it's all about looking up in it.
You heard it here first, folks. Connor's he's gone early, January, and he said we're staying up. Clip it up. Clip that up. In January, we are staying up.
Oh, they will. Trust me, they'll clip it up. Yeah, when we're playing Luton next year, they'll be clipping that up.
For me, though, and I agree, I'm with you, we shouldn't be going down. If we go down now, or even in a relegation battle come April, it falls at one person's door for me now.
Yep.
He's had two really good transfer windows at Jesse Marsh, signed 13 players, putting together a really good squad. Performances have been better in the last few weeks, like he said. It's time now. The Man United games back-to-back, difficult games, obviously. Everton, Southampton, Forest, around them. We've got to start seeing points and wins on the board now.
Well, I think this is right, what Leeds says. Let's see what Connor says after Forest then. Yeah. Everton and Southampton, yeah, you're right, mate. I mean, if I'll have a very different tune if we lose all of those three games, which is it's football, isn't it? Of course you'll have a different tune. So
even the board will. I mean, the board have backed him really well, but if we lose all three of them games, then I think the board
game over.
Game over. It has to be.
All right, mate, we'll leave it there. Before you guys leave, make sure you slap a like on the video. It is free, as we always say. Thank you so much for joining again. We've been going for about an hour and a half. Thanks, Brownie, for joining me, mate. It's been a good one, hasn't it?
Good positivity. It's been a really good transfer window, and it's about time us Leeds fans had that. How many transfer windows down the last years have been disastrous, we need to sign this, we need to sign that. For once, we've had no major outgoings, touch wood, there's still a few hours left. We've had no major outgoings that have not been accepted. The Llorente one, I think we were all accepted that it had to be done. It was the time for him to go. And we've seen some good players come into the club. So for once, we've had a positive one, haven't we?
Mate, 100%. Yeah, definitely. Guys, make sure, as I say, you're subscribing, liking the video, and we will see you in a bit. Cheers.